Welcome to today's webinar. Hopefully you got pumped up with some music. If you guys haven't yet, drop us a line in the chat. Where are you and what is the temperature? Because if you're like us, it was a bit chilly this morning. So we're going to keep that chat going. And so take time to find out where it's at. I know our speaker is going to have it be interactive today. And so, yeah, -13. Yeah, I had a conversation and I think anytime it's like over like -10, doesn't matter if it's -13, -25, like it is here, it's just cold. Yeah. So welcome everybody. We're so glad you're here on our webinar. We are going to be talking about embracing effective one-on-ones. And so we're super excited to have Christy join us today. And we would not be able to do all these trainings for free for everybody if it wasn't for our sponsors. And so we want to give a shout out to Dawson Public Power. If you are within 100 miles of Lexington, they might be the perfect resource for you. Even if you're not, we encourage you to check out their website as they provide a lot of services that can be really helpful for all businesses. And then our featured member is Creative Advantages, and they have been a member since 2022. And so basically, if you have any marketing needs, they are a wonderful business to work with. Speaking of marketing, we have our upcoming Market Tech Conference on March 25th, 26th here in Kearney. We have our keynote, Chelsea. She provided us a video on why she wants you guys to attend. And if you missed her webinar last week, you can always go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, and check out her webinar. But if you want to see her live and in action prior to Market Tech, March 6th, she has another webinar. And if you can't make that, then I very much encourage you guys to come to Market Tech. We have a great lineup of speakers, and we're super excited. We are just counting down the days here. And so I'll play the video here.
Small business owner and you're in Kearney, Nebraska, you are not going to want to miss the annual Market Tech Conference happening on March 25th and 26th, 2025. I'm Chelsea Pites. I'm one of your keynote speakers. I'm going to be teaching you the science of the screen-to-screen connection, how to effectively build digital trust online. I'll be joined by some incredible speakers who are experts in their field, and we offer 4 tracks this coming session: marketing and social media, e-commerce and web, innovation, and tourism. Head on over to the markettechconference.com. You'll be able to register, see the agenda and all of the speakers, and reserve your tickets.
Awesome. So I encourage you guys, visit markettechconference.com, register today. Spots are filling up quick. We're getting super close, so we don't want you to miss this great opportunity. And to introduce our speaker, Christy Johnson, she is out of Omaha, Nebraska, and she is going to be taking us through how to embrace effective one-on-ones. So I will pass it on over to her.
Well, thank you so much for the warm introduction. And I just realized I'm wearing the same thing as in my picture. I do have other clothing. So how random was that? Thank you all, Grow Nebraska, and then Tanya and Cami, for inviting me to be the guest speaker today. I'm excited to talk about a topic that I know is so impactful for leaders and their teams, anyone who is part of a team, whether you're the employee or the leader. It's an important topic, definitely a way to make an impact all around in different ways. And we're going to talk about that today. So I actually have a slide deck I'm going to share here so we can walk through those. But we do want to make sure that this webinar is actually interactive. So although I know we don't see each other on screen, it is the type of thing where we want to make sure when we invite you to answer questions, please type that in the chat and we'll share those along the way. If you have a question, feel free to share that as well. It really is about just learning along the way, being part of the conversation. So you're not just sitting there listening to me for 45, 50 minutes, kind of tuning things out. But I do want you to be comfortable. Feel free to grab your lunch or drinks and just listen and then participate along the way. So embracing effective one-on-ones is what we're talking about today. And what we want to try and cover during the time that we have today is the purpose of one-on-ones. Why do we even do them to begin with? A simple process to follow for those that maybe aren't doing them consistently yet, or you need a refresh with what you've been doing. Different things that you can include in those one-on-ones. So various content that you could to use to just keep it mixed up and fresh along the way. And then examples. So if people are looking for different questions to ask or things to focus on, we want to provide those to you as well. And also, just once again, thank you, Grow Nebraska, and everybody for attending today. So a little bit about me before we jump into the topic. I am the founder of Magnetic Cultures. I was in corporate life previously for 20 years, primarily in healthcare staffing. So my work, my career has been in people really this whole time. So from Omaha, if anybody's in the area, you know that we are a haven for healthcare staffing companies, and I worked at two of the very largest that we have. But 20 years in that space, and 15 of those years serving in leadership roles, ranging anywhere from manager to C-suite. 9 of years, I was actually at Medical Solutions, which is one of the largest in the country now. But I oversaw people operations and different culture functions, really to help grow and develop that organization into the success that it is today. Also, a lot of experience with talent acquisition and recruiting. So, really knowing what people are looking for and really what the best options are for them as far as career availability and options for work. And then, as far as that experience, the engagement factor, really what all those touch points are, really being into mapping those out and the science behind it, not just, fun parties and events and things like that, that a lot of people tend to think those are, but truly the science behind mapping out experiences for people so that they are able to be fully engaged, show up as their best selves, and truly perform well. And then also really dedicating much of that time to culture. So making sure that everyone in the organization, from frontline employees all the way up to C-suite, really have that voice. They feel included, valued, and ultimately thrive. So while I was in corporate all of those years, those are some of the things I did, which really lent the experience side to what I do today, where I really focus on consulting, so special projects. If there are organizations who have issues with talent attraction or talent retention, really having people thrive or being re-engaged in the workplace, a lot of leadership coaching, mentoring, and some speaking as well. All right, so let's go ahead and dive right into our topic. So the purpose of effective one-on-ones, when we look at this, the ultimate goal of effective one-on-ones are really to have that opportunity for supervisors and their employees to connect to one another. And we want to be able to do that through those consistent meetings where they're meaningful times to talk and really engage in conversation together. And one-on-ones, it already kind of is self-explanatory, but it truly is on an individual basis. So this is beyond your typical team meetings or town halls or things like that. But the true purpose is to connect. And when we're talking from the perspective of people leaders, and we'll talk about actual employees in just a second, but people leaders, some of the main things that they're really able to gain from effective one-on-ones is really to find out what's going on in their employees' work life and even beyond. Not that we're trying to be all snoopy and try and dig into somebody's personal life, but really when we have that foundation of a relationship and trust with our people, a lot of times they will actually want to share what's going on. And then from our perspective as leaders, we're well aware of things that are happening in our people's lives. What happens outside of work severely impacts what they're doing at work and their performance there. I know I used to work at a place in the past where we would say, leave your personal life at the door, but that doesn't really happen. That doesn't really work for people because no matter what's going on, it is going to affect us one way or another. So, really being aware of those things and really helping to support and connect with our people is a big part of this. relationships. So when we have one-on-ones, it's a great opportunity for us to really focus on the relationship we have with our employees. And we're looking at engagement with people. 70%, up to 70% of an employee's engagement at work is from that relationship with their direct supervisor at any level. So it's very important for us to know each other, really know what our goals are, how to work with one another, expectations, things like that, and really flourish in that area. And as far as people leaders, really focusing on certain elements with our employees, growth and development of our people really should be one of the top priorities that we focus on. Because a lot of times, for example, if you're a sales manager, for example, your goal isn't necessarily to grow sales. Your goal is to grow your salespeople so they can grow sales. So it's important to know how you're growing your people and really develop them in that capacity. And then, of course, at the end of the day, as leaders, our focus is to help our teams perform and produce and really tackle the things in front of us to help reach our strategic goals overall at our organizations. And then, of course, engagement. We want to engage with our employees, make sure that they have a great feeling when they come to work, when they leave work, that they feel good about what they're doing. And it really helps to retain that talent when they leave feeling good at night. Then from the opposite perspective or the other end of the relationship, employees, one of the main goals that they have, especially in one-on-ones, is to be seen, heard, and feel supported so that they're able to grow in their roles and through the organization. And a big part of this too is just being that aware of what's going on with the organization and how they're able to help the company reach those goals. But for the leader to be well aware of the things that they're contributing so that they're able to be recognized or appreciated for those. And also to have that connection with their leader so that they know that they have that one-on-one time where they truly feel valued because their leader isn't continuously canceling on them or switching it around, but the priority is to focus on that employee, grow that relationship, get to know each other, and really help each other out at the organization. And then definitely that continued engagement and overall experience, being able to have those regular touch points goes such a long way when we're talking about effective one-on-ones, employees and their direct supervisors. Ultimately, when we invest in people, they are going to feel valued. And when we're talking about people feeling valued, this is one of the main reasons today that people leave organizations. They don't feel like the organization cares about what they've done, all of the work they've done. People are looking for more than a paycheck these days. And effective one-on-ones are probably the most impactful and quick turnaround action items that leaders and employees can do to be able to make a difference as far as feeling valued, being heard, feeling cared for, having feedback, clear expectations, all of those things. And so when we're really looking at work, for employees, it's more than a paycheck these days. I mean, we could have asked people maybe 20 years ago, what are you looking for out of work? And it truly was about having a paycheck. Today, people expect more. And we especially have seen this post-pandemic where people have worked from home, they've had different options. They really ask themselves, why do I work? What's my purpose? Do I want to do this? All of these things started bubbling up. And so people really just, ultimately decided I need more than a paycheck. I'm looking for all of these other things that we'll really get into here in a few minutes. So when we're in one-on-ones, just more of a reminder than anything, when we're in one-on-ones, especially from the point of a leader, we want to build people up. It's so important for them to have that confidence that they know that we're supporting them and not tearing them down. I don't know about you, but I know I've been guilty of having amazing, most inspiring leaders and managers in the past, but I've also had one or two that we're really good at trying to tear people down and always pick things apart or micromanage. And the feeling I had at the end of each day and me wanting to come back and really do my best varied greatly just based on this fact alone. So if there's anything you take away from today, if you're a leader and you have direct reports, you're working with people and conducting one-on-ones, really focus on that feeling when people leave, where you're building them up so they really want to come back and get after it the next day. Okay, so finally, a time where we can reflect a little bit and share with the group. This is where I invite you to just think about it for a second and understand maybe if you are conducting one-on-ones or if you're part of one-on-ones today, what's the reason that you actually have those one-on-ones? And this can vary greatly from person to person, but is it because you want to connect more? Is it because you want to have growth and development opportunities and be coached? Is it more about having a better relationship with your counterpart? What is that for you? And then if we do have some notes in the chat, feel free to share those with us.
Well, right now, I've started the answer. Me and Cami thought it's just a great way to connect with people. So yeah, I'll keep an eye though for any more answers.
No, that's great. Thank you for jumping right in. We can keep going too if that's the case. So yes, thank you for sharing that. Okay, so a simple process for anyone who is really focused on one-on-ones, or you're about to start these with your team, or you're part of it and you just don't really think it's working between you and your leader and you want more. This is a very simple process that you could follow just to make sure that it's working well for you both. So it starts with step one, and this is where we want to make sure that it's on the calendar, where hopefully it's the type of situation where we're not trying to reschedule these all the time or somebody's canceling last minute, but these should be top priority for both of you. And it's really good to just make sure it's recurring on the calendar. And it should be a time that works for you both. So we want to make sure that as a leader, you're asking your employee what's a good time for them, what's a good time for you, so that it doesn't have to be moved all the time. I've also had this done to me in the past where my leader would constantly just cancel or really try and change it last second. And it really does kind of make you feel undervalued or that that time together doesn't matter to them. So this is one of those things that can be a huge difference maker. The things that you could have in that recurring calendar would be basic agenda and even just meeting format. Is it going to be virtual? Are you going to meet in person? If you're going to meet in person, is it in the office you typically meet in, or where's that going to be? Step two is actually requesting employee topics and questions for discussion and feedback. So the one-on-ones for employees typically would be led by the employees. This is time for them to feel a value and really stand out, share what they're doing, ask for feedback, those types of things. And so we would just want to make sure that they have the opportunity to be able to share what they want to talk about. If they're really proud of something and they want to be able to talk about that, if they're stuck on something, that they have the opportunity to talk about that. It's great to be able to, as a leader, plan that beforehand so that you can plan accordingly what's going to happen in that one-on-one. And then step three, just create a place, a filing system or repository where you can share all of these one-on-ones. If you have a multitude of people on your team, if you have 10, 15, 20 people on your team, staying organized is going to be very important. Earlier on, when I became chief people officer, and there were many people who were just kind of doing one-on-ones whenever they wanted, how they wanted, they wouldn't save them. It becomes more of an issue when people can't remember what they talked about, or if there were performance issues and you want to have some things documented. But really, more than anything, when we're talking with our people, it's great to keep track of things so they know we're listening and we're prepared for next time. And it's just easy to find those things along the way. Each person on our team is going to be different. So to have some sort of repository is great. Some people have HRS systems, others might have performance systems. If you don't have any, and really it's just more of not high tech by any means, you can use Microsoft OneNote or something that's easy to use that way. Definitely helpful to keep track of those things. And step four is actually facilitating the one-on-one conversation. So making sure along the way we have the basic outline already created there in the notes, but that really just helps guide the conversation. Other things are going to come up along the way though, when they have questions or they bring something up you didn't anticipate, but just to make sure that you're trying to stay on track and then really take the conversation where it needs to go. And then step 5 is really sharing that brief recap of what happened in the one-on-one. What were those conversations? And then really being clear with what are the next action steps if there are. So if you as a leader are going to follow up on something, what is that? If you need them to do something by their next one-on-one, what is that? So being very clear with expectations and next steps so that that's a nice follow-up to the one-on-one itself. Step 6 really is just repeat this. So to keep a consistent one-on-one pattern is a great way to really follow this. And then bonus tip, if one-on-ones are maybe once every couple of weeks or even just every week or once a month, I've heard people do it then, it's really helpful to just do quick check-ins on a regular basis. I don't think it's too much to check in even daily or once in the morning, once in the afternoon, even if it's just on a tech platform, whether you use Slack or Teams or whatever it might be, it's helpful to check in with people and just make sure they know you're there for them. And if they need anything, that you're available. So it definitely helps from that capacity in that relationship. Some do's and don'ts about having one-on-ones from an effective standpoint. So the do's are consistently meeting at a time that works for both people, not just one or the other. If so, we're probably going to run into the situation where we're rescheduling or canceling those meetings. So just talking about that up front is really a simple do. And then clear and kind and transparent communication. So one of the phrases I always use is clear is kind. So when we're talking about feedback or when we're sharing expectations or next steps, being very clear with what that looks like so there's never a question. Being able to share whatever is able to be shared from an organization standpoint is wonderful for them to have a bigger picture. So try not to keep information just to yourself as a leader, but to be able to share whatever you're able to from a transparency standpoint. That really helps to build trust and just overall awareness. Also, as far as just feedback and meaningful questions to really coach people up, to help shape and make them better, grow and develop them. Try not to have distractions as a leader or even as the employee. Don't have your cell phone up and constantly looking at that or texting people back as we're having a conversation. Then it really shows we're not present in that conversation with people. And the whole point of this is to connect. It's really hard to connect when somebody's constantly on their email or doing something different. Another do is being able to collaborate and ask people their opinion or how they want to be involved, or if you're wrestling with an issue that maybe the team has or the organization has, being able to ask for input that really helps people feel that they're valued, that their opinion matters, their perspective matters, that kind of thing. And even asking them to do the kind of work that needs to be done in their particular role. What doesn't go over quite as well with people tends to be just commanding or telling them, hey, do this. It isn't something that people feel really good about. We don't always know the whole picture either as leaders, where there might be some other things that they know how to do something a little bit better, or maybe they need to focus on something else. So collaboration when we're talking about to-dos is a big part. Also, as far as leadership and just being an employee on the team, being authentic, being true to who you are. People don't want leaders who are disingenuous or that seem shady or, gosh, I can't really trust them. They just seem really fake. People want leaders who are real. And then keep it fresh in one-on-ones. We don't want to do the same thing over and over and over, where you always know walking into a one-on-one exactly what to expect. It kind of, I don't know, it makes people disengaged with the conversation if it's the same old of just updates every time. So if you're able to maybe switch up the agenda or even how you're meeting, the format every once in a while, that really helps to keep it fresh. All right, so some of the things that are included in one-on-ones, it could be any one of these areas, or it could be a combination of them as well. So effective one-on-ones typically include a variety of topics and formats. Anything from what I typically hear most is work updates, where an employee is able to go through what they're currently doing today and just kind of list those out for their leader. But there are many other ways to go with one-on-ones, just checking in with them to see how people are doing, what's going on in their life. Is everything okay? Are they feeling all right? Have they been sick lately? Do they have energy to do things? Just being very well aware of that because those things can really impact work. Focusing on that relationship and getting to know them, how we can be better leaders for them. As an employee, what are some things I can do better for the team and in working with you and delivering what I need to, that kind of thing. Coaching and mentoring is a big part of it, where we're really focused on that growth and development of our people. So growth conversations are a part of that. But if people need a mentor and what they're really looking to do later on is to be a successor for us as leaders, being able to focus on some mentoring with them is a big part of it as well. And that goes back to really having that relationship and knowing what people are looking for in the future. What are some of the goals that they have professionally, and really helping them to get there. Really sharing too when it comes to some of those work updates. If people want to share a success they had, it's great opportunity for us as leaders to be able to recognize and appreciate that hard work somebody did, or that great project they just finished, or presentation they had, or whatever it might be. This goes such a long way with people, so they feel that what they do is valued and that they're appreciated for the work that they bring to the table. Collaborative problem solving. So this could be anything from that individual work level to team level. Maybe there are issues going on in the team, or drama, or some people aren't getting along, or whatever that might be. In one-on-ones, it's a great opportunity for there to be an open, honest conversation between the leader and the employee about ways we could maybe solve this or approach it differently so that our team works better together. So there are so many different things with this that it could be beyond those just updates most people typically have. Formats. So when we're talking about formats, another way we can switch these up to keep them effective and fresh would be to just get away from the same old, same old. I know sometimes it's difficult when you're remote from your leader or your employee if they're across the country or not in the same town or in the same office, where a lot of times it will be virtual, but even changing the background or where you're doing it is nice to switch up from time to time. But if you are in person and have that luxury, being able to sometimes meet in an office, sometimes in a conference room, maybe you go out for coffee or breakfast or lunch, and that's when you talk about things. Besides, people tend to let their guards down a little bit more when it's more of a casual setting where you can just have a real conversation. If it's nice outside, I remember having walking one-on-ones, and you can go outside and walk around the building or around a trail or somewhere that's nice. If it's cold, like it is today for most of us, you can even maybe walk around the building inside and go through the halls and that kind of thing, as long as there isn't anything too confidential you need to talk about. So a lot of great ways to mix it up and keep those effective and fresh. So when we're talking about one-on-ones, we want to make sure our employees feel that they're valued. Excuse me. We want to make sure that they feel like their work matters. They want to know that they're supported by us, that they truly have, um, our best interest at heart, and that they know that their work matters. It's meaningful. The organization appreciates them. We want to be more like the lady up top, where at the end of the day, after a one-on-one, she's like, yes, I know what I'm doing. I feel good about the project I completed. I'm ready to tackle the next thing, instead of the opposite, where maybe a manager's completely micromanaging them or constantly tearing them down, or they're very unclear about what they're supposed to do next or how to fix something. And that is pretty much the opposite impact we want with one-on-ones. Okay, another time to try and interact and engage with some of the conversation in the workshop today. So when we're talking about one-on-ones, if you were to switch these up to be a little bit more effective or keep the one-on-ones fresh, which elements might you choose to layer in to really mix it up a little bit between you and your leader or you and your team? Feel free to think about it for a minute and then type some notes in the chat.
Ty put in the chat for those who are intimidated by or just not feeling like they are that person who can make a one-on-one valuable. Don't worry about asking just the right questions, just be curious. If you focus on being curious, you will more likely be engaged, as will the person you are talking to. It is like the back door to get the whys that are important to them. Listening is the key skill, not talking. Ask how you may be able to help them.
Absolutely. That's great, great insight. And a great segue into what we'll be talking about next, which is some of the content and questions we can ask. So thank you for making that point. I couldn't agree more.
And I know, well, we might be waiting for more people to put thoughts in. Tanya and I were just talking about how we um, will take your advice and switch up our one-on-one meetings instead of being kind of stagnant inside. You know, next week when it's 60 out, going for a walk and having a walking meeting, or even just changing the environment for it. We love that idea.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. It's so funny. I remember, I'm sure like most of us on the call, when pandemic hit years ago, and we all started working from home, or many people did, not everybody. I understand. I still had some essential workers in the office, but one-on-ones became very different, and the weather was really nice part of the time. And so I remember that I would encourage, because well-being was also such a big thing, and it is today, to really just have Zoom or something on my phone, or if it wasn't even a video call, to be able to take a walk outside where you feel good, you're talking to somebody, they're doing the same thing. And by the end, you just feel like you had a great conversation and you were able to get out in the sunshine, walk around a little bit. It just makes all the difference with how people really take that one on one and the feeling that they are left with afterwards. It just mixes it up a little bit. People are way more engaged in the conversation too, instead of sometimes the same old, same old. So that's a great point. Thank you. Any other comments? I don't want to keep beating it by any means with like a dead horse, but if we have some other ones, I want to make sure everybody's heard.
Ty has an additional comment. He said it can also work to mix it up by having the subordinate responsible for running one of the meetings.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you. Ty, I already really like your perspective on these things so far, but yes, and to me it kind of goes back to the one-on-one really is for that employee. If they want to run it and they want to talk about the things they really want to or ask questions, great. It doesn't mean the leader has to talk the whole time. In fact, the best one-on-ones are when the leader's asking questions and listening and really helping to guide and grow and develop that employee. So great point. Thank you for sharing that. All right, I'm going to jump ahead here so we have time to go through some of these things here. If you're wondering why in the heck do we have little samples here, I actually originally called these tasty samples of examples people can actually use during their one-on-one. So whether it's an agenda or questions, just something to really mix it up and not do the same old every single time. And also, if anybody wants some of these written afterwards, I am happy. If you just want to email me, I'm happy to send you this document as kind of a follow-up supplement, or I can send it maybe to, Tanya and Cami, and they can send it out to the group too, whatever's easier. But so you have some of these, you don't have to write a ton of notes and just kind of be engaged in the conversation. What I found over time, sample agenda that tends to work pretty well. Depends on how long you have to meet. Some people meet for an hour, others 30 minutes, some 15 minutes, but at the end of the day, it's just a matter of that consistent communication. So first and foremost, it's great to just check in, see how people are doing. Are there any important updates where if there is anything else, or if your meeting's cut short, did you cover the things you really need to cover first? But just checking in with people, how are they doing? Anything new, anything they should be aware of. This can kind of set the stage for everything else too. So if somebody seems a little off, or they've been calling in a lot or something like that, they might share with us that their mom, was in the hospital or had a major surgery, or maybe they're going through a divorce or something like that. We can't ask personal questions, but if they volunteer those types of things to us, and that relationship is there, it will help to paint a broader picture for us of what's going on in their lives. Because once again, that will also impact what they do at work and how they show up. Next, I like to follow up with accomplishments, things they feel good about. It could be big, it could be small, whatever it is, it really helps to recognize and celebrate something that worked really well, or something they did, or how they were as a teammate. Really, if they did something that we can share in the celebration of, that always makes them feel good about something they did. On the flip side, maybe things they're challenged with. What is an issue they're having, or something they just can't fix, or something they want other insights to? That's a great opportunity where we can really help course correct, or remove a speed bump, or provide resources, or whatever it is they need to be able to overcome some of those challenges. And then it's great to be able to, depending on what that relationship is with your direct report or your employee, if you want to kind of move more into some coaching questions, or if you are mentoring them for really being a successor, or for a certain role that you've been in before that they really want to know more about and kind of be groomed into, great opportunity for that. Or even just growing in the role that they have, sometimes even personal growth and development questions could be sprinkled in there as well. At the end, you always want to wrap up with, are there action items, to be very clear with next steps and what everybody's going to focus on, with reasonable deadlines. So we want to make sure that's more of a collaborative process as well. But this helps with, once we leave, then who's going to do what by what time. And it's never a question where you're scratching your head wondering, okay, what was I supposed to do? I still don't get it. But people should really know, and they should have the support to do it along the way. So keeping it fresh, rotating topics, questions, things like that. All right, so when we're talking with people, one way to really help build people up, not tear them down, are just some simple impact phrases. Here are some samples that we have right here. But when we're talking about impact phrases, our words truly matter. What we say to our people truly matters. Are we building them up? Are we keeping it positive? It doesn't mean that we can't coach people or help them learn or develop or be better at things, but they need to hear some of these things along the way. So after you've maybe had a conversation about, gosh, I know we're having challenges here, but I know you can do it. Or I believe in you. I've seen what you've been able to do before. I know the kind of character you are. I know the kind of person you are. You've got this. I trust in you to handle this project. Or I appreciate what you bring to the table, or who you are. I can't wait to see you crush this goal. Or whatever kind of language you have, because I know each organization's a little bit different. But also another one that really provides impact in a positive way is asking for their thoughts and opinions, or their feedback. It shows that you value what they think, and you as a leader don't always have all the answers. And in fact, it helps bring them along to provide their own thoughts and really harness that along the way, so that as they continue to grow and develop, they're able to share what that looks like as well. As far as sample questions go, so we kind of broke these out into different types of questions that we can ask. So really just support questions first and foremost, especially if somebody's maybe having a rough time, or they have something else going on in their lives, or things are just a bit off. Just asking how they're doing, taking time to do that, whether it's a one-on-one, or if you're texting somebody, or you set up a quick call or check-in. This is one of the best things that we can ask, so they know we're there for them. Asking how we can help, and not just assuming that if I do this, they'll be fine. And do they have everything they need to be successful? If not, what are those things that we need to help provide to them? And is that realistic. Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't, and then learning to work around that. As far as building relationships, one of the biggest relationships we have from an engagement standpoint with our people truly is between the employee and the direct supervisor. And so we want to make sure that we really focus on this, and it's not always just about work and the things that they do for us. But how else can I show up for you as your leader? What else do you need? Um, and how would you like for us to connect regularly? Some people like text, other people think it's just cold. Some people like for you to pick up the phone. If you're in an office, do they just want you to stop by each morning and say hi or have a cup of coffee or whatever it might be? Everybody's a little different. And making sure that connection actually happens is unique to each person. So treat it accordingly. Even just from a team perspective, asking people how they feel things are going on the team, any ideas to improve it if there are some issues or challenges we're having. And then how can I support you connecting with others on or outside our team? So beyond just the relationship between direct supervisor and employee, what are we doing to really promote opportunities to connect with others on the team and outside of the team? It's great when people have that network of people that they can go to for questions or somebody to lean on, or just even friends at work goes such a long way for that sticky factor of people really enjoying coming to work or not.
We did have another comment about kind of, I think, 2 slides previous.
Mhm.
Um, they said, think of being that parent watching their baby take those first steps, pretty much the same language from the, like, you're doing a great job. And yeah.
Yes, the impact statements. Yes, I think that's a great point. Thank you. And I have said kind of in the past, gosh, so much of this parallels to if you're a parent, what do you do with kids or that kind of thing. And although adults aren't kids, we are trying to groom people and help them grow and develop. And we want to be positive, almost cheerleaders for them along the way because it provides that support where people feel like we're really investing in them, that we're showing up for them, that we're behind them. Those things do make a difference to people. And with the opposite effect, has the same impact as well. So if people aren't doing that or they're constantly torn down, people are going to start shutting down and doing the bare minimum and eventually leave. And that's not what we want. When we find the right people for our teams, we want them to grow and blossom and perform. Some other questions here, and we don't have to go through all of these necessarily just on an individual basis, but those support questions, relationship we had just talked about, but growth and coaching. So as far as some growth and development, simple ones we could ask, what's something new that they want to learn? Is there maybe an experience they want to have? If we know that their next step or a goal that they have professionally is to move into this other role, are they able to maybe shadow in those meetings with those leaders? Or if they want to move to another department, is there an opportunity for them to be exposed to what that group does? Is there some sort of cross project? Where they have those experiences or skills they're able to gain just by having that exposure. What are some other things they want to continue learning or growing on the path that they're on even? Are there some other things even outside of work that they want to explore? This is super helpful, especially for organizations where things are kind of stunted or they're at a halt. We know we're not able to hire people for a while. We can still grow and develop people in different ways where maybe it's just something outside of work. Maybe they really want to get in the routine of working out regularly or drinking more water. Even just those simple things show people we want to connect with them and support them. And it's still going to help them feel better in their lives when they do those things. From a coaching perspective, are they on track to win? Even just asking them that question is going to be very telling. And then we can take that conversation down whichever path it needs to go. What's standing in their way? If not, and how can we help them with that? Do people know how to deal with the challenges that are in front of them? And then are we shooting high enough? Sometimes people just kind of want to do a little bit or the bare minimum, but we know they're capable of so much more. And to re-engage them or reignite that fire they might have or that they used to have, are we shooting high enough for something else that they could be doing? And then this goes back to when we're actually conducting one-on-ones, is there a way we're keeping these organized? So some organizations have wonderful tech for it, others don't. If you don't, I'm just sharing this for maybe some of the smaller companies that haven't been able to invest in it yet. But OneNote's a great way to do it where you're able to keep this organized and very easy to find per person.
We did have a question come in.
Okay.
They asked, can some questions feel like a trap question if the trust is not there yet?
It could. So that is a great comment, or yeah, a great question, I guess, to bring up. Everything could feel uneasy or uncomfortable, or where you might have deer in the headlights or dead silence if we're asking something and the relationship isn't there. And relationships, the foundation of them tend to be trust. And that's part of why we want to build that relationship so much. When you have new people on your team, one of the first things I like to do before we ever really talk about work is just get to know them. They get to know me, where I'm able to start proving myself that I as somebody they can trust and help build them up. But it is that type of situation. You'll want to be cautious as a leader to ask certain questions, or if you do, you can try it, but you might not get a whole lot back from somebody if they just kind of shut down. You know, we probably have a little bit more work to do with that relationship and trust factor. Great point. Okay, so getting started, what are some things we can do to get this going right away? Oh gosh, it's so dark. I'm not sure what happened. Is it really dark for you guys where you barely see this slide?
Yes, it
Gosh.
looks like there's like the transparency is down on
Oh
it.
my gosh. Yeah, that's really strange. So I can just ask this question because it's more of an interactive question again, more of that reflect and share. Um, but looking at, the one-on-ones and being more effective for anybody that's part of these today, if you're part of a team or you conduct them, what is one thing you feel you can really commit to really freshen it up or be more effective with one-on-ones? And then I invite you to share that in the comments. Oh gosh, it's really just switching back and forth. Yeah. Does anybody want to share any comments about maybe what you can do to really commit to doing something a little bit different, to freshen it up?
We did have someone answer. It looks like Ty said to be more intentional about setting one-on-ones rather than just letting them happen.
That is amazing. Yes. That is to me like one of the biggest things people can do is, yes, be intentional, make it a recurring thing. It proves to people on our teams that we value them above everything else. And as leaders, our role is to groom our people and make sure they're successful. So that's a great point. Thank you. I don't know what happened with tech, so everything kind of disappeared. I just went off the slides, but thank you for bringing that up. That's a great thing to start with. Anyone else?
I know personally, I'm going to refer to your do's and don'ts because I think those are really, really helpful and something that you can just slide too easily into the don'ts because you're doing a habit and you don't even realize it. We did have another one come in. Paige was saying creating expectations of one-on-one so that the time is utilized efficiently.
Oh, great. Yes, absolutely. It's so helpful to know kind of ahead of time what makes a difference for people, what they want to talk about. And it also goes to when we're talking effective communication with people. Some people, I learned this the hard way with my teams. I don't know if anyone on the call has ever gone through some of those personality assessments, but I work with DISC quite a bit, and our teams at Medical Solutions did. And I realized that I'm the type that I like to just talk on the spot, collaborate on the spot, like share ideas. They could be terrible ideas, but that's okay. We're just spitballing here. And half my team, they were more of what was considered more of the C, like conscientiousness. They like to think it through, plan it out, know every detail, have it like all perfected before they really share anything. Take a lot of time to kind of think about stuff ahead of time. And I was operating very differently, and I was turning them off. Well, then after we realized that, gosh, they need some time to prep, it's part of why I started for just everybody sharing, here's what I'd like to talk about, but what are things you'd like to talk about? Your things are going to be priority. And they severely appreciated that because they knew what was coming. They would feel prepared. They wouldn't feel caught off guard or like I was trying to corner them or something like that. But it worked so much better. We did that for team meetings as well. And that way we had very fruitful conversations, way better off than just me asking a question and hearing crickets. So, okay, great stuff. So really we've come to the point now, and I just, for some reason, my PowerPoint is still, so we'll just stay on us. But towards the end, it's just any final questions anybody might have, thoughts, comments, anything like that. I just wanted to leave a few minutes for that if anybody has anything that they're challenged with or that we can share right now.
Julie has a comment here. So they said sometimes efficiency isn't the goal, it's the build of the relationship and trust. And once that's in place, then efficiency, and then she put parentheses, ideally.
Yes. No, that's such a great point. It is so true. Yeah. We want them to be effective, not just efficient. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's great. Any other questions or anything else that the group wants to bring up?
Do you ever find that you have a recommended time for getting the most out of a one-on-one?
I like to talk with the team about it, and every decision almost we make is if it can be collaborative and something where people have input, I ask for that. Um, it depends on the function too and personalities, but I would say 30 minutes is great if it's a weekly thing. If it's every other week, at least an hour. But I also make sure to do daily check-ins. I think if it's over an hour, people get kind of burnout and checked out. It's a lot when you're just doing one-on-one conversation with your leader. People tend to just, I don't know, they burn out a little bit. They're not quite as fresh. But monthly is pretty tough. I would highly recommend not just monthly if at all possible, because I think a lot of stuff happens where it's, even just the appreciation and recognition for people. It really helps to be able to have regular touch points throughout the month, if at all possible.
Awesome. I appreciate that information. And then another question came in from Jen. Do you feel you get better results from early morning one-on-ones or later in the day?
Great question. It's all about people again and
Mhm.
asking the team. So to me, I always leave it up to the team. I'm much better in the morning. Once afternoon hits, my coffee wore off and I'm just like, "Ugh, ready for a nap." That's me though. And especially after lunch, I feel like that's probably the roughest time. So thank you all for being on this call right now. But as far as morning for me, they're always great, but I don't make it about me. The one-on-ones are for my team. And so I ask my team, when do you want your one-on-one? And I leave it up to them. When is their best time to talk? Also, schedules make a difference. So there's the factor of energy when people feel their best to have those conversations, but also what does their schedule look like? Maybe they're just packed in the afternoon, even though that's typically their best energy time. So I leave it up to them, and that's when we schedule it. Great questions. All right. Well, I want to be respectful of time, and thank you so much, Tanya and Cami, for inviting me to be part of this today and for everybody attending. If you have any questions beyond this, feel free to reach out to me. This is a great topic, but there are so many other amazing topics from an engagement, talent retention, culture standpoint as well, that I'm happy to help with. And if anyone wants any of those sample questions or anything too, just let me know and I'm happy to share those with you. So otherwise, thank you so much for inviting me to do this today. It was great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And feel free to message Tanya and I. We put our contact information up here. If you do like today's topic or have a topic that maybe Christy had suggested that she can talk on, or one that you just randomly said, I would like more information about this, we have monthly trainings. And so we would love to hear about what you are looking for. And just so you know, we have 2 more trainings coming up this month. So save your Thursdays from noon to 1. So next week we have a sell your story, how to craft your story to grow your business. And then I already forgot it was already going to be March. So March 6th, we have our social media mastery with our market tech keynote. And next week is also a sneak peek into a breakout session speaker. And so both weeks you can kind of get a sense of what type of talent we are bringing into market tech. And so we're going to reiterate it again because we want everyone to take advantage of the opportunity to come to a wonderful conference where we have picked out speakers from across the nation. Some are Nebraska, some are Texas, all over, who are experts in their field, and they're topics that we feel Nebraska businesses can benefit from. So it's a day and a half here in Kearney, March 25th and 26th. Check out markettech.com for more information and get signed up. We sold out last year and we're planning to do the same. So if you're interested, get connected today. We appreciate everyone being on. And we look forward to hearing from you. So stay in touch. And if you're interested in learning more about Grow and our services, we're happy to have that conversation with you and how we can help grow your business. And again, if you love today's training, feel free to leave us a review, give us some good information. We're always looking to continue to grow and help businesses across the state. So stay warm, everybody. Thanks again.